Are you awake?
Yes, I'm awake.
We're awake and ready to go.
Yes.
Are you going to fall asleep?
No.
How many podcasts do you think people fall asleep on?
Hard to tell because they probably edit out a lot.
Is there like a sleeping podcast where they
Well, there's
help you
like
fall
podcasts.
asleep?
Yeah, there's podcasts that help you fall asleep. Maybe if they're really good, then they get you.
Gotcha. If you're listening or watching and wondering why we're talking about falling asleep, because right before we cued the cameras,
True.
we were wondering how many people fall asleep on podcast.
And I thought
Probably not the hosts themselves.
I thought probably nobody ever.
Yeah. I think at least one.
It's probably possible that it hasn't happened.
Totally.
I don't know if there's anything that hasn't happened in the whole world at one point, you know?
Interesting.
Went to my
Well,
dad.
that might be a good lead in into today's topic, culture. The culture of a podcast. Like when people go and show up to do a podcast, it's assumed it's like
That you won't fall
that
asleep.
you won't fall asleep. Like, hey, what we do here, there's a certain way we conduct ourselves in this space. And one rule is probably don't fall asleep in the middle of an interview.
That's a stretch of a connection, but I will allow it.
Yeah, the culture of being on a podcast.
Okay.
Maybe.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's very unique. Well, I think hopefully what we're talking about today is slightly broader than the cultures of podcasts and more just what is the bigger question of what is your culture? Where'd you get it?
Yeah.
How did it happen?
Back to the old words have meaning. You know,
Truly.
what does culture
is
mean?
Culture.
Yeah, to each one of us. You go first.
Me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess whether we know it or not, kind of like maybe theology, whether we know it or not, we think something about God, therefore we have a theology. I guess whether we know it or not, we live in a certain kind of culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all grown up in a family, and that family had a certain kind of culture to it that will be different from others. There might be similarities that overlap, but I think each family is unique, right? You could look back on what were traditions you did in your family, or what did meal times look like, or, you know, just what was your family as a whole. So I guess it's really can be any pocket. And I think at a base level, you could start with your family.
Mm-hmm.
What was the culture of your family? How did that create you to be who you are? And then you could look around at probably your workplace has a culture, your church has a culture, your own home and family has a culture. And so we're kind of in this place where there's all these cultures. There's the culture of the world or different cities, or, you know, commonly like ethnic groups have different cultures. And so, but it's interesting to think of like every home really will have some sort of culture.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that look like? And can we identify, I guess, what are the key parts of culture?
Mm-hmm. I have almost nothing to add to that. That was so thorough.
Whoa, nice.
I know.
Yeah. I think about Seth Godin. Do you ever hear of Seth Godin's book Tribes? Or even
Ooh,
Seth Godin?
yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure Tribes. I think it talks about culture, like the tribes we form. But anyway, like it's Seth Godin. I just feel like the season I was always listening to his podcast and reading his books. He would always say a phrase like, "People like us do things like this." Like, you know, we form around groups of like-mindedness, or, you know, like, hey, you know, monster truck rally, right? Like people like us that love monster truck rallies do things like this. Where probably, you know, they probably are. You put them in a room full of people and you could pick them out. Like it's just a certain thing. Or people that go to country music festivals, right? Like, or people that attend poetry readings, or, you know, it's like the people that gather around like-minded ideas operate in similar fashions. And it makes me think about like how when you were talking, you know, I think you said established norms or behaviors. Two things came to mind, like the when you said businesses, the old mission statement on the wall or whatever, or the vision statement, right? Like these are the three things. Or with churches, right? Like I've seen a lot of church websites. There our statement of faith, I think they call it, like statement of belief, like somewhere on the website you can go to, because I think it's important for some people to know, like, what does this church believe? Okay, here's their page. We believe, number one, you know, the Bible isn't the infallible word of God. Number two, this. And I think people that are looking or church shopping perhaps, maybe they're basing like they have something and they're looking and it's like, okay, does this culture resonate with my own culture?
Well, what I think is interesting about churches in particular is that they actually will often not just have their statement of faith where it's basically outlining their theology and what they believe, but it actually has a lot more behind it. Like they're pretty specific about the photographs they use that demonstrate what kind of church they're like, or they have things that are branded or designed to kind of speak to the vibe, for a lack of a better word. Like I would say churches actually have a culture that is beyond just their faith statements, but they also speak to and attract a certain kind of people that are looking for a certain kind of thing, which is very interesting to me when I think about what the church is maybe meant to look like, or what it sounds like it should be biblically. And then what you see, you're like, oh yeah, you actually do get these like very niche curated subcultures, even though they could have the exact same statement of faith on their website. There's actually so much more behind it.
Oh, which direction to go?
I got
a couple.
Pick the right one.
Well, I'll circle back if it wasn't. I'm thinking back now to the podcast we did on discovering your why. Because I think like everybody has a culture, but you might not be aware of it.
Yeah.
Right. And it could be healthy or unhealthy. It exists. It's just there. And maybe you've cultivated that culture. Maybe you've pursued it. Maybe you've put it in place, or maybe it's just come to be. Right. And so it's like we have these opportunities to be intentional in culture. And so as you're sharing about businesses and their mission statements and all of that, I'm continuing to read through this book about Start With Why. And so the latest thing I've been reading about is like where when you don't know your why, you're just kind of sporadic a little bit. So we could have cultures that they have like we've been taught do the thing, right? So you should have a mission statement, you should have a vision statement, you should have your core values. But just because I put those things on the wall doesn't mean that's actually the culture we live out.
No.
Right? So it's kind of coming down to the heart of the culture is birthed out of who we are and what we've decided we wanted to create here, whether we're doing it intentionally or not. And so I think it's interesting because like you're saying, we could walk into a church or a business and they'll probably have very similar mission statement, vision statement, a lot of places, but I don't even know if that translates always into culture.
No.
So it's that, how do you actually, like what actually creates the culture, even if you have the mission statement, vision statement on the wall, you know, or you have these, are you aware of your core values and do you actually live them out? One of the examples he gave in the book was like Volkswagen is known for being like a brand of the people, right? Like you think of like they made down to earth cars, you know, it was like you thought of like the hippie movement, the Volkswagen van, like it was that kind of a thing. It was for the people. And they came out with a luxury car and it was like bells and whistles and it was incredibly engineered and, you know, German engineering and all of this. But because Volkswagen message was like, hey, we're for the people.
Yeah.
It didn't translate and now we're confused. Right? So it was almost like, hey, other car companies like Toyota and that were like, we want to make a luxury car too, but we're going to make a new brand. So they came out with Lexus, came out with the luxury car, and it didn't conflict with their culture that they'd already put in place. And so I think that sometimes, right, if we can get confused if we're not consistent in who we are and we don't actually understand who we are and we're just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, I think that causes problems in cultures where you're like, well, what are we really about then? Because I thought we were about this, but no, maybe we're about that. Or
I think if you're in a community that you really care about and you aren't incredibly intentional about the culture that is being made, you are making a huge mistake, because culture is going to get created whether or not you have a hand in it. But if you have a hand in it, you can shape it into the thing that you want it to be. And often that is so much weeding and so much time. And you do it over and over and over and over again. And so I think anytime you're just a part of something wonderful, but you passively let culture get created, I just don't see how it doesn't get chaotic or inconsistent so quickly, even if it starts out as a really great thing.
Well said. Well said. I'm restraining myself because I'm so fascinated by like what are the mechanisms that create culture or like all the nuts and bolts of like how does it work? Like if you could put it in a petri dish, what are what are all the reactions and stuff? But I know that's a super deep rabbit hole. But one of the interesting things I was thinking about is always like two things lately. Two things to think about. One, remember the TED Talk with the guy, like how do movements start? So basically, the guy was showing
The
it
first
was like
dancer and the second.
yeah, it was like an
Oh, I love the dancer video.
yeah. Well, do you know what I'm talking about? It was like the
yeah.
outdoor concert, and then
Yep.
the one guy's just like everybody else is sitting on the grass, and the one guy he starts giving her, and he's dancing, and it's like okay, the first person looks kind of like a weirdo. They're the only one doing it, and people are like, what is this person doing? But then the second comes, and it's like that's the one that kicks it off. Like now it's a little more approachable. And then when the third, like it's unhinged by that
then
point.
it's over.
You know, and so there's that. And then I also think of, I think when I was in my marketing degree, I learned about, there was a study and scientists, like they had engineered this thing where they wanted to see like group dynamics on somebody. So they, in an elevator, so they had it to where I think everybody in the elevator, except for the one person who didn't know they were part of the study, they would enter the elevator, a crowded elevator, and when they entered and the doors closed, everyone, like one at a time, I think, would turn around and face the other direction. And the one person just like, you know, you could see them kind of squirming a bit like, what's going on? But almost every time that person turned around and did the same. But then the doors would open and they'd turn around and like go out. Like there was no like other door. They were facing like the back of the elevator,
Just the
right?
wrong way.
So it wasn't even just like, oh, we're going to go out the rear door of the elevator. But it was fascinating that like that person just looked around at what everyone else was doing and then followed suit.
I think that's the power of culture, right? Like when you step into something, all of a sudden you get swept up in what's happening there.
If the culture is strong enough.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
What I mean, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen other tests. It was in a waiting room. It was very similar. A beep would go off and everybody would stand up out of their chair and then sit back down. And so you had, and they kept like, and other people would be like, oh, okay. So they would do it too. And then it got to the point where all the original people in the waiting room were gone. Like they'd gone to their appointment, but the new crew kept doing it. Yeah, like it just kept going because they had.
So funny.
Yeah, it like, and nobody the people left now. None of them had a clue why they were doing this.
That's
they
so
just
funny.
That's what you did.
So here's you know, like here's one of my questions that could go down a rabbit hole, and I don't want us to go there, but
I'm gonna ask the question, but you're not allowed to answer
go down
it.
the hole.
well, I guess I need you guys to keep me on track, right,
Okay.
with your simple, straightforward answers.
Absolutely.
My question is like the person that's doing it, what is compelling that person? Like I think there's like the psychology of they want to fit in or feel like, you know, like because there's no external motivation of like, hey, if you don't stand up with these people, we're gonna whip you or we're gonna electrocute you or whatever.
Wow.
Like it was just the mere, like they see other people doing it.
Yeah.
And there's no other stimulus other than something internal that's like, oh, I need to fit in. I should fit in. I want to fit in.
I wonder, like the word that pops up for me is just this idea of belonging. Like I think we have an inner wiring that wants to belong. I think it's on purpose. You know, like we belong to the family of God. We belong to a father. We belong to a family. And I think that plays out in these roles where, you know, you want to belong. You want to be a part of the bigger thing. Right?
Or you want to be a part of the whole people like us do things like that. Like
But
I saw the other day, when I went for a walk yesterday, I saw somebody wearing a t-shirt that's not a very common t-shirt. And I regret not stopping them because I wasn't sure it was like the brand I saw. So like, for instance, like one of the popular podcasts we listened to, and then there was something in me that wanted to connect with that person. Like, oh, hey, like your shirt, right? Like I can now connect with a stranger over a shared ideal or shared, what do you call it? Like interest. Like somebody that was just random that I would have otherwise never approached or never said, oh, hey, you know, I like this. And then we probably would have been able to carry on a conversation. Oh yeah, I like this episode or whatever. But it was a shared situation. Like, so I missed the opportunity. But I think that's an example of you see somebody perhaps wearing something or doing something that's not the norm, and then you want to reach out and connect and say like, hey, I'm in this with you, or I get it. I'm part of this group.
I don't even know what to call it, but my first thought before you brought up belonging for like why would somebody do that is I was thinking about myself and all of the times that I will just fall into line and do the thing. And maybe subconsciously it's this desire to belong, but I'm curious if, cause I'm not a curious person. I don't really ask a lot of whys. If I trust unless I don't trust what's going on, but if I trust what's going on, I'm just going to assume it's been thought out and I'm going to do the task. And so sometimes curious people will ask me questions. Why do we do things? Or why is it this way? And sometimes I'm like, well, it's just because that's how we do it. The beep goes off when we stand up. I never ask why. I don't need to know why. It's just what we do and how we do it. And so it's funny because I think that to me, that's just the way it's done. And you go, okay. Like that's satisfying enough for me if I trust the thing that I'm a part of, which is interesting.
I think too, that word culture, just makes me think about Petri dish culture, right? Like that you put something, it's a culture in there and it grows. And so I'm thinking like we're on a new sourdough kick now. And so learning, you have to feed the sourdough and then it grows. And it's pretty fascinating to watch it do its thing. Like it's living, it's alive. You feed it, it grows, you use it, you make the bread and so on and so forth. And I think culture in our lives, it's that thing, like it's what you feed is going to grow in your life. Like that's how this works. And so we could unaware be feeding something and it's just going to continue to grow in our lives. And we could be sitting there wondering like, why is this happening in my life? Or what is this, these things, if they're negative or they could be positive, but let's say it's a negative thing and you're like, well, oh gosh, I'm really struggling with this. But sometimes we just continue, like we perpetually feed that thing. So you could look at, I think people have probably experienced certain atmospheres where maybe there's a lot of backbiting or talking behind people's backs or gossip, right? And that has been woven into the culture. And the more we feed that, the more it just begins to grow and grow and grow.
It's like that thing where a gossip will always find another gossip in the workplace or something. Like even if you can just hop in on something and get in on the culture right away if it's strong enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's so fascinating because we can also go the other way.
Totally.
We could be like, hey, we're the kind of people that don't gossip about other people. Right. And then all of a sudden we're feeding in our culture the opposite. I would say the CrossFit gym I work at, like it's a super positive environment. And I believe that the owners they've cultivated an atmosphere of encouragement, of blessing, of speaking life over people. And even to a point, it's sometimes in the culture where you're like, hey, maybe you're just not a fit. If someone was more like a backbiter and like we've had some situations where it's like, hey, maybe this isn't the gym for you. And that's okay. Let's go find where you need to be, and that's great. We bless you. We love you. But this is not how we do things here.
Yeah.
Right. And so then when you enter into that place, it's refreshing and it's encouraging and, everybody is just kind of like encouraging one another and you're not finding, a lot of complaining or backbiting or anything like that because they've set a tone.
Yes.
And you kind of just like, oh, okay, this is
This
people
is
like us
This
build
is the
each
way
other
it
up.
is. This is what we
this is
do.
what we do here.
Yeah. I love that because I think when you create a culture and then you hold the bar, the outliers will make themselves known. If there are people that do not want to be a part of what you're doing, they will self-select out if your vision is strong enough and you hold strong to your culture enough, which I had a thought way earlier that I forgot about, but then you saying that brought it back where I just can't help but think that potentially people pleasing is like one of the most deadly things for culture. Or like if you're trying to hold something consistently or to do that and I'm like, I don't know how you would hold both people pleasing and letting people go if they don't fit at the same time, which is interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, I think in your own personal life, you just need to kind of begin to decide, and hopefully it's based on biblical truth. What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to attract? and then you could also analyze and go, hey, I have a lot of negative relationships or a lot of negative in my life. Well, there might be a reason for that, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are you attracting to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do we foster, those kinds of things? I was just reading in my journal this morning and just went back to the beginning of the year, and I had put some things in there where I really want this to be a year of like not complaining and not criticizing. And that was like something that I wanted to start to develop. Now, I don't think I focused on it super hard, but we're coming back around, and I'm like, yeah, I still want that, because I think that's going to attract the kind of people in my life where, if I'm not complaining and not criticizing, and I'm around people that are not complaining and criticizing, well, what are we doing instead then?
Probably talking productively.
Right. Yeah. We're probably encouraging one another. We're probably going after things. We're probably not just grumbling and stuck in, like you get. Instead, we're looking around at the world and finding the good things or creating them.
Yeah.
Right. I think we can get caught in a cycle when we're in that criticism or complaining. And it just brought me back to that of like, oh, yeah, this is something I wanted to do. How do I walk forward in this? I want to be reminded of this,
So we all have a culture. Either we've created, or I think more commonly we've kind of assimilated into, or we exist within. So then the question is if we all have a culture, where did it come from? Where did we get it? And I think about the old, I think it was Sigmund Freud, the nature versus nurture, right? Like there's a lot of traits that you just get passed on genetically, or it's just, or your God-given, like we've talked about before, there's God-given talents and abilities that you have that are unique to you and no one else. But then I think there's also a level of your formative years, like what kind of household were you raised in? What kind of experiences did you have growing up? Shape, like your own personal culture that you bring. So I guess back to the, here's me long-winded, back to the people at the gym that don't fit, and that's fine. It's not their culture. Like they have, right? Like they have an internal culture that doesn't align with the external culture. Does that make sense?
I'm following.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So they carry their own culture, and they're looking for, where's my people like us? Because I want to find the people that do the same thing I like to do. The gossips find one another, right? The productive people find one another. So I guess the first question is where do we get our internal cultures that we bring into situations?
Where do we, or where should we?
Or just like if we want to, totally. Or just thoughts
because
about.
I'm even thinking, okay, let's say you feel like you're not fitting into a culture for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have to take a moment to analyze, okay, what is it about that you're not fitting into?
Yes.
So it's like, well, are you backbiting and complaining and like a gossip? Because I don't know that as Christians, that's not really the culture we want.
No.
Right? So it's not just that yes, we need to find our tribe, but we need to make sure it's based on, hey, who's God created us to be? Biblically. Like it's not just I should go find the best complainers club because I'm really good at complaining.
That's what I got on the inside. Like ideally our external, I like this. I was struggling. I'm like, do we have culture? Are we a part of it? But I like that internal, external. Ideally our external culture would be improving our internal culture. And also we would be contributing to that. Like it should be this like self-sustaining, feeding kind of situation that they both make each other better. So don't take the things that maybe need to be improved and then just go find other people who are bad at that. That's probably
I feel comfortable here.
Yeah. I don't feel stretched or challenged in any way. This is really nice.
Might not be about comfort.
No.
But yeah, I think that's great, because let's say you're on a journey where maybe your internal reality, you're just learning about biblical truths and growing. And it's like, then you need to find some healthy environments. You need to find a Bible believing church that is following the truth and where you have access to the Holy Spirit, because that is where you're going to see transformation. And it's getting into environments or around the cultures, right? Where you're kind of looking and going, who do I want to be like? What kind of culture do I want to have? And so then I need to put myself in those places and not be alarmed that if I'm in unhealthy places, I'm probably going to be affected by those.
Man, I'm the biggest fan of putting yourself in places where everybody in the room is better at that thing than you. Like, just don't go find people that are the same as you or do things just as well as you, or think that, like, that is the worst way to get anywhere. Like, I think you can use different cultures and other people's growth to your advantage in such an awesome way. Like, if you come with a heart to learn and a desire to improve, you're not going to suck the life out of it. You're going to gain so much, and then you can keep going. And there's just, So I don't think it can be, to answer your question, to piggyback off that, like, it can't be about comfort or finding, I think, what is it? Yeah, finding your tribe. People love to find their tribe. I'm like, don't go surround yourself with people you're exactly like. Go stretch yourself.
Well, there could be the danger of, I mean, there's always two sides to the coin.
Totally.
Right. So there can be the danger of, like we talked about before, echo chamber. Like, you don't want to like, hey, people like us
don't hang out with people.
Don't hang out with people. Yeah, totally. So that probably opens the door to, like, healthy cultures and unhealthy cultures. But I will definitely not advocate for, go huddle together with your group of like-minded people and just hole up and talk smack about all the people who aren't like you.
Yeah.
Totally on the unhealthy end of the spectrum.
I think anytime we get into the conversation that our culture's better than yours because of blah, 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 like, it could be anything, if that's our focus, I tend to see that not play out very well. Like, I was a part of a church plant once back in the day, and I realize now, after hindsight's 2020, is the whole church plant was based on, we can do it better than you. Right? So came out of the other church, planted a church here, and the whole time, the whole motivation wasn't like, God sent us to plant a church. We feel like the Lord has anointed us to do that. Maybe we said stuff like that. But, like, really, when we got on board with this, it was a lot of, like, it was so funny. We prided ourselves on not being religious. And in the journey of not being religious, we became religiously unreligious. Like, that became the thing. Like, it was like, no, we are not, we are so unreligious, but we were just trying to reach God with our own unreligious ways. And religion is trying to access God without God. And it was very much a whole, we're going to be better than you.
Yeah.
And so anytime I think that you are in a place of building culture, creating culture, and it's to be, like, better than or not like them, or at least, I'm like, I haven't seen that work well.
I've literally never seen it work. Anytime you try to create something off the basis of not being like that thing, you become some version of that thing that you don't want to become.
I think because what you focus on, you become. And so we're focusing on not becoming them, but it doesn't work that way. Like, because you're still so focused on this, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, no, like, what if we're focused on Jesus? And we become like Jesus, like, where are environments that we're focusing on Jesus, and we're rather than just the goal is to whatever, fill in the blank.
Yes.
And this is where I think the Bible is just, it always blows my mind of its relevancy across the ages.
That's true.
It's just sound teaching and truth. Is that the whole body of Christ thing, right? Like, that is timeless, of just the picture of every part is fitted together to complete the whole, right?
Yeah.
And the eye can't say to the foot, like, all the different parts can't look into the other and despise it or say, I don't need you.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we need every church to rise up. If, like, the Lord is calling, like, there's words about, like, billion soul harvest, like, the people coming to know Jesus. Like, the whole point is to make heaven crowded. Like, we need all hands on deck to sit there and point, like, well, that church and that church can't. It's like, no,
we don't care if you don't like that church.
It's
Somebody
like,
does.
Be a part of where you're planted to be and be fully there, and just focus on God and what He has for you. And if we can bless other people along the way, why wouldn't we want to do that?
I heard the other day, and I didn't look into, I'm just trusting that the info I heard is correct.
The internet is true.
Yeah, well, it was a podcast, and the guy speaking, he was saying division, die, vision. So I don't know if die, he meant like die is a Greek word, a Latin word, or whatever, but he said division is die, vision is two visions. Like, it's not a shared vision. It's two different visions, right? And you can't have I mean, you can have two different visions, but it's not going to work well,
No.
Right.
right? Like you're not united in one single focus. So earlier you were talking about Volkswagen, like building a car, designing a car, Volkswagen, all the wonderful men and women that worked for that company, right? Like you had designers designing the car, like what it would look like inside and out. You had engineers engineering the suspension system and the engine. Like you had a multitude of different disciplines all coming together with a shared goal to create a vehicle, right? And they all needed one another. Like the designers that were designing a thing, if they didn't have the engineers to figure out how to fabricate it and the assembly line workers, their vision would never get off the ground. And like they all needed one another. And so when you're talking about the churches, it makes me think about we should celebrate the diversity. Like if this church down the street is huge on evangelism, and this church over here is huge on teaching the word, like their focus is just almost solely on like the Bible. And this church over here is all about healing, like all the different churches. Like we should be celebrating that because they're all bringing their unique expression, like to build the metaphorical car, right? Like we need all the different aspects of culture. But then that leads into healthy, like how do cultures work together to co-labor together,
That gets tricky.
with a shared goal.
Well, yeah, I think that point is one where I was like, I should add a disclaimer to my last comment about how having an echo chamber isn't helpful. But I was like, yeah, you want diversity, but also you do need something shared.
Sure.
Shared vision, shared goal, shared whatever.
Like the group of designers designing the Volkswagen.
Yes.
Amongst that team.
If they're all engineers, it's not going to work out well.
And you might have somebody who maybe they're new or they're coming in and they're starting an apprenticeship and they realize like, you know what? Like I don't really get jazzed up about the design work. But they look out on the floor and realize, oh, we just attended an open house for a gentleman we know who owns a construction business here. And I was asking him, how'd you get started? And he was in a whole different degree program and, it was fine. But then he just noticed one day, I think they were renovating a family member's house. So they had all these construction workers on site and he looked and he was fascinated. And I think he just started helping out. And that led to like 15 plus years later now, he's doing what he loves and he owns a business doing this. But it's like, so the culture he was originally in, he thought like, okay, I think this is my thing and realized I don't fit here. And it's not saying anything was bad with that group. It just wasn't his group.
Wasn't his vision.
Yeah. It's so wonderful, like this journey of like finding where you fit in. And then even like that process is exciting or can be exciting. And then once you fit in with the group, then learning how to work in the group and then that group learning how to work with other groups. Like it's just, I don't think will ever arrive at like, hey, I've mastered this 100%. Like I've attained my culture gold medal.
Well, yeah.
We can aspire to it.
We can try.
Yeah.
We can try real hard.
So if we look, the Bible does talk about kingdom culture,
Sure does.
right? Like that.
Ooh,
think
we're
is the
building
gold-
something together
The gold
as
standard.
different people with different interests.
Well, like
Well,
what
different
what
gifts.
is like Jesus? What Jesus brought was very countercultural to the time in which he showed up. Right, the way he treated women, the way he treated children, just everything turned like the it's called an upside down kingdom for a reason.
Yeah.
Right, to saying, hey, he's the king, and yet the king is down washing their feet. Like it's all flipped around. So the kingdom culture is really what we're going after and what we want to study and what we want to learn and how do we become like Jesus and how do we step into this kingdom culture? And first of it is beginning to realize that the culture of the world is not the culture that Jesus had, right? They expected Jesus to ride in on that, a horse, not a donkey, but they expected him to ride in, go into the government and take over, like to throw out the Romans and be like, here's the king establishing his kingdom on earth. And what does he do? He goes into the temple, he clears it out, of all the money changers and the people that are basically like have turned the house of prayer into like a marketplace.
Yeah.
And then he goes and dies on a cross. Right. And he's like,
Here's the kingdom.
Welcome to, he rides in on the donkey. Like it's
Yeah.
not crying, like the tears, because he knows Jerusalem, like this whole place is going to fall because
Yeah.
you still don't get it. And so it is beginning to look at that, because as we have our own cultures in our families and all of this, there is a worldly kind of system culture where we're created. You could simply begin to answer the question, what does it mean to be successful?
Yeah.
And I think when you answer that question, you'll begin to reveal what kind of culture you live from, right?
Or
What
live
is
for.
success? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what is success? What's the goal? What are we working towards? And then if you were to take some time to write that out and then look at it and go, okay, does this line up with the kingdom of the culture, right? That Jesus put forward? Is it loving the Lord God with all your heart, mind, soul, and your strength? Is it loving your neighbor as yourself? Is it laying down your life for someone else? Is it taking up your cross? Like, there's such a humility to who Jesus is. And yet that's not all. We also have to see in his kingdom culture, there was a crazy amount of power, right? Like we can't just accentuate one side of Jesus' culture, which was, yes, humility and servanthood and laying everything down and taking everything upon himself. But on the flip side, he wasn't helpless and hopeless. He
Not at
brought
all.
answers to really hard situations for people. He went around healing the sick, raising the dead, miracles, signs, wonders, feeding the hungry, And so all of a sudden we're like, is that my everyday culture? Like, how does that play into...
Do I see both these things?
Yeah. Do I think about them? Do I meditate on them? Do I realize that God is still healing today, that he's still moving in power?
One of my favorite expressions is that culture is caught, not taught. And I think it's so perfect because it's so easy and tempting because we're all a part of something. We're all contributing in some way to culture. And it's so easy if something new comes in or these other things to try to teach or talk or do all of these things. But when you watch what Jesus did, he brought these 12 teenagers really around him, followed him everywhere, and just showed them again and again and again. He didn't say, hey, go wash people's feet. He just washed people's feet. He didn't stand there from whatever soapbox, I guess, and just tell them over and over again what to do. He showed them over and over again what to do. And so I think of that often, and it's very humbling. Of sometimes I'm a part of something and some person is very frustrating to me because they just don't get the thing, and then I am left to sit and think about how often am I actually showing what I am trying to create versus just talking about it or theorizing or whatever it is.
I think that brings us back to like it's not helpful to have all the stuff on the wall and to kind of be like, okay, this is who we are, this is what we do.
Read this.
Or
and then,
even, where it's not actually lived out.
Yeah.
Right? So those two things have to come together, right? Like our core values and our beliefs and what kingdom culture is has to align with what we're actually doing. Otherwise, we have this split again where you're like, this doesn't make sense.
And in an upside down kingdom, the higher up in whatever community or culture you're a part of, just the more people you have to serve. That's all that means. So you just have to demonstrate your culture to more and more people just as well.
And then you begin to realize like there's some things that are deal breakers for you. Like that's when culture really takes a hold of you, right? Even you're just like, oh, well, people like us do things like this. Like, like when you're like, well, we don't lie. It's just not, that's not what we do. That's not what, we've chosen that. Lee and I have a high value for tipping well. It's just our culture, right? Like I don't care if they serve me well. I don't care if they're nice. This is what we do. People like us tip really well in a restaurant because from the simple fact of like, if I can give someone whatever, 20, 30, but whatever it is, I used to be a waitress. I can make that person's day and it's no effort from me. Like it's such a small ask. Right? Where you're like, you give somebody a little bit, just a little bit over the top tip and bam, you've just encouraged them and made their day in a moment. Right? So stuff like that, where you're like, what is a part of like your life culture where you're like, no, this is what we do. This is what we do.
One of the things I love so much about our podcast is just because, like on the fly, this isn't, we didn't spend hours researching this topic.
We decided as we sat down.
Yes.
This is what we're talking about.
The fresh ideas that come up of like, wow, as we're all sitting here talking, I'm thinking, man, I'm sure there is a cultural assessment, like what a checklist or some kind of guide or handout, like where somebody could take a personal inventory of like, what is my personal culture? Like, what do I believe? Like, I don't even know, like my mind's kind of like racing to think, what are the components of your own personal culture? Like,
right.
what are the, like how many key foundational parts is it? Like, is it, what you think about yourself? What do you think about others? What do you think about the world?
A lot of life coaches have like a wheel. Like
I've seen the emotion wheel.
No, not the emotion wheel.
The
different.
feelings wheel.
That's more therapy. We're talking life coaching. It's just like it's like a life assessment wheel. It has a name. I'm not going to remember what it is, but it has like basically family, and how do you feel about your family in this moment? Like you're basically assessing your life as far as how would you rate it? How do you feel about family? How do you feel about your like where you work, your working situation? How do you feel about your physical health?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about like what's going on with if you're part of a church or faith, right? How is that journey? So they break down kind of all these main areas of your life basically, and you come in and you assess like how do you feel you're doing, and then obviously you're going to help the life coach out by being like, which areas do you want to work on?
Yeah.
Where are the weaknesses and where could we get better here? And that's kind of the wheel they go through. But I imagine it would be similar where you could just overlay those main components that we kind of have in our life where you're like, yeah, what is the health of the culture in my marriage? What is culture and the health in the church I'm going to? What is the health or in the culture where I work? How is that? My finances, right? Like,
what is it like and what am I like in that? And then see.
Totally.
It was a silly example, but it would just be like, if you feel like, if you believe and you take your assessment, you believe, your culture is really fine manicured lawns. Like, you believe your house, your property, your lawn should be like tickety-boo, win the Lawn of the Month award, and you walk out your front door.
Like, is that a culture? That's
well, I'm just saying, like, silly example, but like your belief.
Oh, maybe that's your business. That's where you work.
Well, no, like that's your belief, like your own personal. Like you value like green, nice lawns, but then you walk outside and your lawn is just like shambles, right? Like there's a disconnect between, so like Amy was saying, we value tipping, but if we don't tip, then it's like we're not living out our culture. Or if you value honesty, but you're not honest. So that's what I was thinking about with the wheel. Like you're assessing, or did I misunderstand it?
Well, I think you're going to something specific where we're just talking about like the different areas.
Okay.
Like what is
Big
the culture
categories
of your marriage?
Gotcha.
And what do you want the culture of your marriage to be?
I thought it was like a taking a temperature gauge of hey, is it cold or is it hot?
Well, what you're talking about is core values.
Yeah.
So I think having a nice lawn is a really weird core value, but it is a possible core value for someone out there. And I think core values and
I don't think it's weird.
You don't think that's weird?
If you value beauty,
well, that's a different title.
but
not
it's still
nice lawns.
It's just, it could fall into that kind of. They'll stretch it out for them. Like,
okay,
right?
I'm just saying nice lawns is not on the
order.
list.
You could.
Yeah, that's a different. These are different than nice lawns.
It could tie to nice lawns.
Okay, maybe on the wheel.
We can get there.
The beauty is like in the inner chunk, and then as it spreads out, beauty for lawns, beauty for your car.
I think you need to look at the core
values. We've gone off the rails.
Yeah.
Okay. Core value. No, that makes sense though.
Yeah. So I think that core values will speak into culture, but I don't think core value is a culture.
Probably not.
Yeah.
They're part of. Like what you value helps create the culture.
Yeah.
Your values will create your culture. So I think it ties in. But let's say you're assessing your marriage, the culture of your marriage.
Yeah.
Right. And then you are looking, you're like, hey, like I would like this to be different. So then I would take a look at, okay, what kind of married couples are in your life? So bigger picture now, what is the culture of marriage that you are embracing? Are you in atmospheres where people honor marriage, or is marriage treated like not important at all? Or are you around people, it's hard when marriages are breaking down around you, like all of that plays in to kind of how you see your marriage and how you maybe treat it and things like that. So how can I then create, is there a couple around me that seems like they have a good marriage? Can we hang out with them and just mostly, again, catch it? Right? Like, yes, you can ask questions and that's great, but to be around someone when you see someone who's married and they treat each other with respect and honor, and like, that's fascinating to watch, right?
Man.
It's exciting. It's that culture that you're looking for.
One of the biggest detriments I've seen in that example specifically is marriages where people speak so poorly about their spouse when they're around, like even as like a joke, or they're just like getting it off their back. But I felt like for a while there, I was so caught up in that. And I was like, I actually really like my husband. And I feel like I spend most of the time making fun of the things that he's like quirky about. And I don't actually celebrate him. And you're like, that's the worst. So it was like such a shift where I was like, it's not actually funny. And I'm not making fun of him. It's just, I'm caught up in a culture of like, just kind of,
This is just what we do.
This is just what we do. It's
Yeah.
just,
We get together and we complain about our husbands.
Yeah. And then we go home and you're like,
and that can be a culture. And I remember seasons of that for sure, where I made just like, I'm like, no. Like, I'm not going to talk poorly about Lee, especially if he's not in my presence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not okay. If I'm going to talk about Lee, I'm going to protect our relationship, and I'm going to talk about him in a positive way.
Yeah.
Now, if I have an issue with him, then yes, we need to work that out.
But that's going to be between me and Lee.
Yeah. Or if we need some help, we'll bring some people in,
Yeah.
and we can have that conversation with him in the room.
Yeah.
Not, I'm over here. No. Do you know what Lee did? Da, 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 and I'm like, it never led to anything positive.
Yeah.
Right. Because then all of a sudden it starts degrading how I see him. And the more that I'm talking about him and complaining about him, the more this thing now is chipping away. And you're like, well, Lee's like this, or he's like, and I'm like, well, that's not going to help your marriage.
Yeah. And then it spreads too, because then it's influencing everyone else's perceptionally. And then you're just taking wet paint and spreading it around everywhere, and then everyone goes around.
Because culture's caught.
Because culture's caught.
And
Spread it around like a disease. Or it can be really good.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
Goes both ways.
Culture grows and spreads.
Yeah.
What are you growing right now?
Yeah.
And what do you want to grow?
Yeah.
What are you called to grow? What do you want to grow? And what are you actually growing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
What is
Cultureassessment.com. Does it exist?
I'm sure.
I'm sure it does.
It does.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to go back to the kingdom thing. I mean, whether it's a core value or part of my internal culture, like I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am on this planet, like we are all on this planet as believers, to bring a culture shift, right? Like we had said before, be the thermostat and not the thermometer. Like we want to be able to change culture for the better, to bring in God's kingdom culture into situations, to bring life where there's death, to bring light where there's darkness, all that jazz.
What do you think, on the spot, are you ready?
Go for it.
What do you think is one kingdom culture area that God's calling you to right now to grow in your life?
Kingdom culture.
Kingdom.
To affect the world.
Or yourself. Just what kingdom? It's kingdom, and God's like, hey, I would really love for you to, I don't know what they do in the Petri dish, put the kingdom culture and grow it. Grow this thing in your life.
On the spot. Well, I'm just, okay, on the spot. I think teaching people how to think, like to truly think about, let me unpack that. To be cognizant of the words we speak, to just, I admire people, like good public speakers that, or a better example, the people you see being interviewed that are like really intelligent people, they don't answer questions quickly. They'll get asked a question and they'll think about it. And oftentimes it's like a uncomfortable several second pause. And then they come like with a well thought out response. I'm so fascinated by like giving things adequate thought, watching the words that come out of our mouth. And I'm not perfect at it, but I mean, I aspire to it. So I think if I were to pick something, it would be like, oh man, that Lee Chapeton, he really helps me see things from a different perspective or a unique perspective.
And what do you think one way God's calling you to do that right now? present day?
Probably start actively blogging or vlogging or writing more.
Wow.
I have a whole slew of voice memos and notes.
You just put that out into the world.
Yeah, from the.
You put that out there now.
Oh yeah. It's been a desire for years, and I used to blog on Cultivate Connections website. We haven't blogged in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Years and years and
Do
years.
people still blog?
No.
I think so. Yeah. Older people.
Old people. It's like the newspaper.
Old people.
Yeah.
All right. Collect your thoughts. Put them together.
Mm-hmm.
Same question.
Same question for me. I was thinking because I could feel that it was
Yeah.
likely coming my way.
You've had more time.
Yeah. And I'm still struggling to answer the question.
See, this is where we need our cultural assessment.
I know.
Where
I need
you're
the
just,
wheel. I need the options is what it feels like. But I know that I am on what I am learning. Here we go. I got it. I should have just sat in silence for a few seconds and thought.
Hey,
but
there you
instead
go.
I decided to
Hopefully
ramble
I've
it out.
inspired you to try that
Thank
more
you.
often.
I'm inspired. I'm also a verbal processor though, so that might not
Yeah.
go so good. What I am learning in the last couple of weeks is that, first of all, we talked about how we view God affects everything, and so that I believe to be true, and so I'm holding everything up against that. But then what I also am pairing with that is how I view and treat myself is a direct reflection of how I'm going to view and treat other people. And I know that I still struggle because I just want to earn God's love so bad. I'm like, that's how it's going to be. And so I have really high expectations for myself and a very low standard for failure, but I don't just keep that in. I then put that out to other people. And so there was a question at the Global Leadership Summit, is that what it's called, that we were at a couple years ago, where the question was something along the lines of, what's it like to be on the other side of you? And I was like,
how do people experience you?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I like that question. I'm a little afraid to ask. And it's always well-meaning, but I'm like, oh man, there's just like a hardness to me towards myself that I think is reserved just for me. But then more and more I'm realizing, oh man, that's so like a mirror. And I'm like, that's not great. So that's the three, I don't even know what to call that. There's like a 3-part situation going on here. So I'm starting this way. I'm like, if I could probably see God right, then maybe this will work better, and then that will just happen.
Absolutely.
That's my theory.
Yeah. That's our whole thing.
That's our whole thing.
Connect with God.
Yeah.
Discover identity and awaken to purpose.
There we go. Boom.
Yeah. You know, if I'll jump back in before you get to answer your own question. Like as you were sharing, and I was thinking about as I was sharing, and like I know for me, it was just like, oh, yeah, like it felt kind of not well articulated or whatever. That's one of my desires. I would love to help people, and that's one of the hopes through this podcast, like to help people get to the point, and especially believers, but could be non-believers as well, to help people get to the point where if they're just pulled aside at any moment of their day, and they're asked like a series of core foundational questions like, what is your theology? What do you believe? What is your purpose on this planet? Who are you created to be? What are your gifts? What are your strongest things that people just love? What do you bring to this world that makes a difference? Like all these questions, right?
What do you want?
Yeah, what do you want? What is your culture and who are your people? Like those types of questions that people would be able to answer that confidently and like right off the bat because they know it. They know it. Just like if somebody said, hey, what kind of car you drive? Oh, I drive a 2006 Honda Element. You know, like you can answer those type of things real quick.
No, my car is white.
But do you see what I'm saying? Is like, that's my desire is to like get people to the point where they know who they are. They know whose they are. They know what they bring to the world. Yeah.
I like that.
Nice.
I had it along that vein. Had an interesting Discovery Today, driving to work.
Oh, Discovery Day. That sounds
Yeah,
fun.
Discovery
though.
Day.
Yeah.
Day is a
I had an
holiday.
interesting Discovery Day. And it was along the lines of, where have I seen God work the most powerfully through me? And not specifically what were we doing, but what was how do you word this? I guess what I noticed is that I think I'm not a gatherer. So, meaning I'm not seem to be the one that that just gathers the people and we do the thing. I come alongside other people and then step into what this thing is, and then we make that happen. And that's where I've seen God like move the most powerfully. So it's been like, hey, I've been part of this ministry, or I've been part of this church, or I've been part of this organization, or, coming in and doing things with Young Life. Like there's all of these things where I can come in and do these things. And so I was just really assessing. I'm like, yeah, where's my history? What have I seen God move? Oh, here and here and here. Wow, really powerfully here and here and here. And then to look through that common theme and go, I never orchestrated any of those. Like I didn't wake up one morning and go, let's gather some people together and we'll do this thing. It was always, hey, I'm going to partner with that person, or I'm going to align with this person, and I'm going to come in, and oftentimes a door is opened and, I get to step in and do what I'm good at with this group of people. And so that kind of shifts everything when you start to look at some of these things, because if I'm sitting here thinking, why can't I gather the people together to create what it is God's called me to create, or what I think he's calling me into? And you get really frustrated because you're like, well, I'm a failure. I can't do it. It's not working. It's not happening. To then all of a sudden go, well, it's never been like that. That's not how I wired you, and that's not the way it works. And so then all of a sudden, instead of trying to create something from nothing, then I'm now looking and going, oh, where are the people or the organizations or the things in my life where God's saying, hey, get involved here.
It's already happening.
Get involved there. Where it's like, do these things and you'll find it works a lot better.
No, that's
but
really
it's so
cool.
amazing how I didn't connect those dots until now. And I'm like, how do you not see that? Like, of course, it's obvious. But the thing that I feel like the kingdom culture piece that God's giving me is a couple weeks ago, just there's a scripture, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And that to me is like life verse. That's who I am. That's what I want to do. I just want to worship God with everything within me. Like may everything in my life be worship to him, because he's so worthy and so worth it. And that's kind of been my jam. And then for some reason I decided to read the next scripture, which talks about, this is basically saying, hey, what's the greatest commandment? Well, the greatest commandment is love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. And then he's like, and there's the second one that's equally as important, and it's to love your neighbor as yourself. And so I would say I'm a rock star on the first one. Like I love that place. Second one, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, I really love myself. That's not the issue. But it's now this invitation, kingdom culture wise, how do you begin to pour into the people or love the people around you? Or for me, it's really simple of like, you could be friendlier. Like I don't know, I can be a little bit introverted or just kind of do my own thing, or I'm too busy worshiping God to pay attention to stuff around here. And God's like, that's not how this works. And so there's this part now where it's like, I'm on the journey of like, just talk to people, be nice to them. Like try being friendly or something. So that is the piece of kingdom culture being called to for in this season.
Man.
You got to wrap up?
Yeah, let's leave them with that question. What
Yeah,
is
what are
God
you
calling you to right now? What part of kingdom culture are you supposed to be bringing? Are you doing it? If not, what are you doing tomorrow about it?
Yeah.
What
It's
do you-
seasons, right? I think we're invited into, we don't have to have it all figured out in one day.
No.
So it's like, it's specifically now. It's like, hey, God, what kingdom culture are you wanting me to move in towards to gain more in my own life so that it can flow through to the lives around?
Yeah. Because whether you know it or not, you're bringing a culture into the situation.
I hope it's a kingdom one. I pray that you'll start releasing more kingdom culture everywhere you go.